Hello, everybody. Hello, my lovelies. This is Astrid, aka the Psychic Witch, and I'm here yet again doing another interview with Abigail. If you're following my channel, I'm pretty sure you already noticed our previous interviews. If not, I would definitely recommend watching them. They are super interesting, and we are talking about loads of interesting stuff. So today we are talking about a topic that is everywhere. And at this point, what it is, I'm going to you've basically read it when you were looking at the title of the video. So basically, we are going to be talking about mindfulness and spiritual development, how to, from a spiritual perspective, psychic perspective, how to handle self-isolation or self-quarantine as it is to this date, which is 26th of March. I've heard actually 1/4 of the whole world is currently on the lockdown. So I'm on the lockdown here in Prague. Abigail is locked down in the UK. They don't have to wear face masks. We do every time we go outside. So they have like a one layer of like a slightly less lockdown than we do. But again, that's just 26th of March. So at this point, that's how it is. We are both seeing on the YouTube, on the Facebook, loads of people are reacting to the lockdown, self-quarantine, isolation. Loads of people are dealing with it in a different ways. Obviously, it's quite difficult. It's very stressful. It literally feels like the whole planet is shaking in stress. I would say at this point, they even freaking penguins on somewhere Antarctica must be at this point influenced by coronavirus somehow. Like even I don't know, it's like the penguins like, are we going to have to isolate? Do we have to go on lockdown? So that's currently where the world is at. So crazy. So we decided like, okay, so we do spiritual work, we do psychic stuff. So I would say it's our goal and it's our, I would say, purpose to actually go and trying to help to explain the stuff, give people some practical advice, what they can do, and just kind of direct them how to handle this whole very stressful situation. So obviously stress is a big thing. And I would say because loads of people are obviously locked in their homes, which is supposed to be, if you think about it, your home is supposed to be your safe space, right? Because like usually the bad things, sometimes can best things like arguments happen in home, but in general people understand my home is my castle. It's even saying, right? But now there's like so much like a stress within that home environment, and if I like don't have home to like unwind because I'm locked at home and I'm stressed, then what can I do? Where can I go? Like I think in a way we are losing our safe space uh, in many cases. What do you think about it?
I think I totally agree with what you're saying, and I think obviously the safe space is, and I completely agree, it's just going through a complete transformation, and I think that just then mirrors the outer world where the outer establishments are going through a complete transformation. So all of those kind of like anchor points within your own like your own home environment and with like collective society's environment, both of those anchor points are just getting massively shook. And obviously then that makes sense with the whole like nodes of the moon in Cancer and Capricorn and stuff like that. So yeah, I totally agree. I think it's going
Right.
to go through a huge transformation. Huge
Yeah.
transformation.
I like for me personally, when in my life I was stripped by any like safe spaces, um, then always I felt like it is pointing me towards look for the safe house or the stability within myself.
Totally.
And
100%.
it's
Yes.
I understand it's so freaking hard. Like I've been there. I understand. I know how hard it is. It's freaking painful.
Yeah. And
Like
it's frightening.
it's frightening. It's you have to trust. You have like nothing to like
And like anxiety comes in and all of those things.
and like so many like worries and fear. And you have to be comfortable with free fall.
Totally. Yes. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's a great way of putting it.
And especially, I think this is going to be really hard for people who did not experience free fall sometimes for decades,
Yeah.
because lots of people are living in like a stereotypical safe life, and then pretty much, the same work for 5 years and the same family and the same husband and the same wife, which is doing the same stuff all over again for 10 years, um, there was really little free fall element to it because everything is kind of pre-planned and stereotypical and happening according to certain pattern. So I think especially for those people, it's going to be really freaking hard to start being comfortable with a free fall. But we are now all in free fall. It's unstoppable. I think this actually free fall is like a part of this karma of this whole situation.
Yeah.
Kind of a make space. It's like the tower card in tarot. Let it all fall. Let make space for new things. And I think the free fall is definitely something that is really stressful.
Yeah.
Have you've been also in a situation yourself when you had to like purely like find a stability within yourself, and you've been in with a free fall. So how did you deal with this? How did you deal with it? How do you find comfortable with a free fall?
I've had it like twice when this situation has occurred. And obviously the first time I was like a baby to it because I hadn't really experienced it before. That I just found excruciatingly painful to the point where I was like, I am never coming back to planet Earth ever again. I'm done. I just responded really badly to it because obviously it's like a shock. Like you don't understand what's going off. All of your reality and everything just gets annihilated, and you're just kind of like, I just don't know what's going on. So I think the first time around it was really hard to do free fall because I was constantly in a space of I don't understand what's going on, and I actually think that constant asking for a question stopped me being able to do the free fall properly. And I know that might sound crazy, but
No,
because I
totally,
was
I understand. No, you're right.
yeah, find the answer, like find the solution, like oh my god, like basically I just massively resisted the free fall, and so obviously that just became even more intense. So then second time around when it happened, like maybe I think it was almost like 6 years later, number one, I actually decided myself to create that free fall. Like I knew I was in a situation where my guides told me, look, ultimately this is going to happen, so how do you want to play this? And in the end I was like, I'm going to do this now rather than life push me. I'm going for it now. So in that kind of way, already I decided to do free fall myself. But then when it did come to those free fall moments, I'm going to be honest with you, still, I had the fear, I had the massive anxiety. Like I'm prone to anxiety, so I did have some of that. But ultimately, I found this so much better because you know what? I had a purpose, and I understood the purpose of like, when you're in free fall, don't resist. Don't keep questioning why, just go with it. And you tend to find that life then gives you things to focus on while you're in that free fall. And then the other thing as well that I found really useful is have a very, very specific goal and destination at the end of that free fall. So you know what, sometimes when life isn't giving you anything, you just know I'm doing this for this purpose. I'm surrendered to the free fall because I want that, and that comes after the free fall. And I found that really, really helped me. So I did those kind of two things. And then also obviously support from friends and family, like, you know, all of that kind of thing, I think is so important. But I think you're so right, like having that really like strong inner faith within you. And I do think, like we were chatting about earlier, like with the astrology and just all this crazy stuff going off in Capricorn, which is obviously causing all of these external structures to go under huge pressure, like government, blah, 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 all of this. I just really think like the thing is, and this always gets me through like free fall, because I have this really strong thing of like, no matter what, I can do this and I will do this and I'll make it work for me. And I just think the mantra really is, I am my own authority. That just really helps me because, you know, when there's chaos everywhere, even if I can generate this kind of like self-belief of, yeah, but everything is chaotic, but I can handle this. I know I have got this, and like truly feel it, like totally feel it. That for me is, without that I'm fucked because I cry a lot, so like I have to have something to like keep me on track. What about you?
I would say, and I would say I noticed like the first free fall that was just horrendous, and but then like I would say few years later, I was yet again in a situation where everything was stripped away from me, and I have no freaking idea what is literally one step ahead of me. And I just was kind of again getting that free fall again. But I noticed that with each free fall, it gets easier.
Totally.
It
Yeah.
gets easier and it gets easier. And I found out how even having everything taken away from you in life and just had to trust that this dark path when you can't see anything in front of you will lead somewhere. It's a skill. It's a skill that actually, funnily enough, this is skill too. And it
Yeah.
can be, it definitely can be learned and it can get better. And I absolutely agree that solution to this is not to ask questions, because if you ask questions, you are still distributing your own power to something external.
Exactly.
Am I going to be this? Am I going to be this? Is it this going to happen for me? Is it this going to happen for me? Am I going to be okay? Am I going to that? That's still the reason why in a free fall, or like the only thing you can do in a free fall is, as we said, like find the focus, find the strong point within yourself, and those questions are like grapples. You're trying to grapple into something in the nothingness when there is nothing around. So the only solution is exactly what you said, is say, I can handle this. Stop asking questions.
Yeah.
Say, I can handle this.
Yeah.
I trust and I can handle this. And the second you say that, that's when the focus, that's when the strong point is moving from outside to the
Yes.
inside.
Exactly. Yeah.
And that's the pretty much the only thing that I think that can somebody handle it without losing their mind. And I
So
absolutely agree that you will get things to focus on. The second
yeah.
you start like getting on, grappling onto questions and ideas, all of that, and the fears and insecurities and worries, and you just like say, I got this. That then
Yeah.
that for me always felt like at that point almost like the mist or the fogs just disappears, and then like right in front of you is like something to focus on. And I think sometimes when you stop resist, it's like the fog that moment disappear, like the fog goes away at that very second, and then you see like everything that you need to know and see in front of you, what to focus on, what to do. And like the clarity comes when the resistance is gone so naturally. For so many different times it was like that. So I agree, if the something to focus on will come with
Exactly.
the lack of
As
resistance.
well, I always think like from like the energy psychic perspective is once you get surrender, it actually does massively change your energy field, massively. And it's because that energy field changes. And I just see the energy field suddenly get like calmer, coherent, and it actually expands. And I think that's also the reason why then stuff naturally comes in for you to actually focus on, which is in alignment with where it is that you need to get, that helps you with the overall situation. Do you know what I kind of mean?
Yeah,
So
totally,
that's kind of
totally,
like how it
totally.
kind of suit
Like I think back in the day I was underestimating surrender, and I was underestimating, because it sounds so, because I think in a way we have this idea of surrendering somehow connected to like a weakness, or
Yes,
like a laziness, or something like that. And we just don't really put enough like value on it. We don't really
yeah,
put enough price tag on it. So I think it's very easy to underestimate it. uh,
yeah,
how, oh, because again, I think surrender sometimes we see it more as like a bad thing than see it as a good thing. So it's
yes,
easy to underestimate it. So you don't really understand. Like, people don't really understand, and I surely did underestimate it. I didn't understand how big of a value and how big of a change this can make until I actually went through that change. And I was like,
yeah,
okay, nice. Because
totally.
I think that in a way, what is blocking us a lot is our own fears and insecurities and resistance. And that's, I think, that's one of the main blockages. But the second I surrender, that means I don't feel the fear,
Yeah,
even if it's just a stupid surrender. Like it's like I'm going through a haunted forest and I'm like, ah, and the second the person is like, you know what, I don't care, yeah, eat me. That moment you just got rid of the fear. You don't fear anymore.
when your vibration changes, then it's
So
different.
that way the vibration totally changes, because I just got rid of some of the biggest, most like low vibrational blockages, like fear, like resistance, like insecurities, just purely by surrendering. I think
Yeah,
lots of people think that, okay, so let's say I have a fear of something and I somehow need to magically change it towards courage. Like I need to, like, instead of like just when I'm going through a forest and there are some ghosts and monsters, I just have to like change from being scared, uh, fudgeless, uh, for what's happening around me. So I have to go to be courageous and fight them. But
Yeah.
you don't have to. You don't have to go from positive to negative. You just have to be neutral in the middle.
Yes.
Surrender is the neutral energy.
Yeah.
So just by surrendering is fine. You don't have to
Yeah.
go and go into that positive opposite of that fear. Sometimes neutral is it's working out, and it's and sometimes it's perfect and it's easier
Yeah.
than to just go from being really scared to go and fight um, the monsters or go into more opposite direction of that fear. So I would say that surrender again. I definitely underestimated it so hard many years back, and now I understand the value of it.
You're
And I
totally.
think actually surrender is going to be such an important topic for people right now, because either they're isolated themselves, they live at home, and that might be stressful. So surrendering the fear of loneliness, surrendering those feelings, uh, as well as just people who are with families. So that's going to be, very busy environments. So I think surrender is going to be really important for both of those situations to really work on it.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I also do, because I'm having to work with surrender myself, and something completely non-related is to do with YouTube. And basically, I never knew, well, I never thought about it this way, but my guides have said, look, the thing is, you got to find a place to surrender because you're going through this resistance and you're not truly accepting what is. As soon as you can accept what is, then you're going to start to see different solutions and different ways of going on. And essentially, it's going to change your mindset. As soon as your mindset changes, your belief system's changing, and then your point of attraction is changing vibrationally, and then everything's going to change. But I've never done this ever before with surrender. But they were like, the way for you to surrender this time, and I'm guessing this might help some other people, is actually, why don't you just go in and start changing your belief system to do the thing that you have got the resistance about? Because that's like another kind of curveball side about way to actually get to surrender. You know what I mean? So I also think that could be something that people could do. So whatever you've got the fear of, or you're not sure of about, if I'm going to spend loads of time at home and like that feels like a bad thing, or whatever's going off, it's like just finding another, like, not necessarily even a belief system, but almost like a mantra, or just change that storyline to do with that story. And
Yeah.
actually that will start to do something which will open up surrender within you. Because I know sometimes it's so easy like to talk about surrender, and then it's just like, I remember the first time I was like, well, how the fuck do I do that? Like, this surrender sounds wicked and I want to do it, but how do I get there? And I know there's different ways you can do it, but I do think for some people it'll probably be really useful to just look at actually just going straight into like that whole narrative around what it is that they are resisting, and actually start to like put change it in their mind, basically to do with how they're perceiving what is going off. And then it's just about having discipline about that thought process, you know what I mean, so it actually changes.
I would say definitely like this whole self quarantine stuff. When you're stuck at home, the whole situation's alone or with a family. This it's going to be shown to you what you have natural resistance towards. In such a situation, you will be able to see your own resistance,
Totally.
and you will be able to see uh, everything that needs work will be seen in much clearer light. And I would say that would be definitely a good thing to kind of just take a paper and pen and write what I'm resisting to,
Yeah.
why I'm resisting it, and what I can surrender to. What is it that's stressing me? How I can surrender to those feelings. What I can what I can get out of this isolation. What is shown to me. I think that's a very important question to ask, because I think loads of bad stuff now comes to the surface. Bad karma within family. Well, I'm pretty sure if you are self quarantined with your family members for 2 weeks, all the unresolved stuff in that relationship came to the surface. Let me guess. I'm Brian, right? All the unresolved stuff in the relationship is coming to the surface, 100%. Don't tell me it didn't, because I know it did. I can see you. So everybody who's like living in relationship now, all the unresolved stuff in that relationship is now coming to surface. If you are obviously if you are quarantined together as a family, if you are lonely, all the karma of your loneliness that you've been trying to drown in alcohol and a frivolous parties is now coming to surface. So
Right.
in the same way, all the karma of that loneliness is coming to surface because now the person can go shopping, can go party, or can get drunk, but allowed in self quarantine. Uh, so like even the fear of loneliness that's coming for a person who is like living on their own, it's been shown. It's clearly coming. It's everybody now, especially in self quarantines, we are all now being literally served what we have to work through on a silver plate right in front of our face. It's like right in front of us, sometimes in our face. So I would say, look in front of you, take a paper and pen, and just write down what is the things that are being brought to your attention right now. What is in front of you on your silver plate? Is it a family karma? Is it relationship karma? Is it your own karma? Is it, for example, like maybe by you going out and do shopping and partying, you've been trying to drive attention away from something. You didn't want to look at fear of abandonment. You didn't want to look at insecurities. You didn't want to look at fear of being forgotten, not being seen, not being heard. There's so much stuff that can be. Just look right now at your current feelings. What is it on that silver plate right in front of you? And then practice surrender, practice I would say appreciation, change the narrative about those things, like you said. And I would say, don't tell me you have nothing on that silver plate. We all have food filled silver plates right now, right in front of us.
Totally.
I
And I
think
do think well, it's really important that and I would say this being emotional, but it's because I see the real value in it. You know what? Sometimes when your resistance is in front of you, it is okay if you really brings up emotions of being upset or super angry or frustrated, because that is part of the processing of the thing. And I do know if you want to get through this the quickest that you possibly can, whatever your resistance is, let those emotions come out. Now, obviously, you're better to kind of do it in your own space, as in not involve somebody else into that drama that's kind of coming out of you. And that's not to say you couldn't talk to somebody through it totally, but obviously you want to be careful that you wouldn't then take something out on somebody else because it's what's coming through from you. But you can still do this consciously, like allow whatever it is to be coming up within you. Allow yourself to like get upset or get angry or whatever it is. And I do always know that usually there is a solution on the other side of expressing that emotion that is to do with whatever that you're feeling, with whatever is coming up. And I think it's a really, really important, healthy process. And I
yeah,
just know culture, like in the UK, it's definitely not talked about enough that it's useful to friggin' express your emotions. Like it's so important. And obviously with this, like the Cancer energy, which is obviously the North Node, which is where we're all getting pulled towards, which is why we're all getting pulled towards our homes, because that's also that kind of energy. It's also really important to honor the other part of that, which is the emotions that will come out to do with what is going off. And actually, can I just say this one other thing? Because this is something my guides have told me quite a bit. Obviously, like a lot of people get sick with coronavirus, and obviously they are okay, but also a lot of people will just be getting a little bit sick, for example, many different things that aren't coronavirus, because essentially this is also your soul processing what is going on. And I think it's also really mindful, like it's really useful to be aware that that is also happening for you. And that also if you are getting sick, and obviously whatever way that might be, and let's just say for this conversation, it's not to do with the coronavirus, but it's your response to everything that's going off. Allowing that to happen actually allows you to process everything so much quicker, and it's super useful. And if we're talking about surrender, that might help you get to surrender quicker, or it helps you get that insight that you need to do with the resistance that's coming up, or whatever the hell that it is. Just know that actually, I know it's never talked about enough in, like, I don't think our society or whatever, but honestly, like, illness is not necessarily a bad thing. It's a way that your consciousness is like upgrading its system, like purging things out of it. And like always psychically, I always see this when people have been sick and then they've got better, and I even see it in me, like their skin looks better, like their energy field glows more, their faces look more symmetrical, the way their muscles move when they talk like glides more, and their body somehow looks in better proportion, just all through just having gone through a sickness of whatever it is. And I think it's really useful to have this in mind, because as well, when we talk about changing our perceptions about what's going off, I think it's, from my perspective, and this is just my perspective, it's important to be mindful about how much you get pulled into what is going off to do with what's being expressed in media, all of these other kind of things, right? because it just is useful, because it doesn't always make you feel very good. And like I say, there are very much positive things behind other things that are occurring, and one of them is what can be the process of getting sick. For example, I did get sick like literally, I think it was a week ago, but mine was literally vomiting and stuff like that. And my guides were just like, oh, you're totally processing everything that's going off, like collectively, and what this means long term. But you're also doing it because of these things that are going off in your life, and it's helping you get to that space. And, you know, even just having that awareness that actually this is a useful thing for me, this is helping me get where I want to go. Once again, it's that point, like when you're in free fall, okay, this is happening to me, but it's helping me get where I want to go, and I want to get there. It's always, I think, changing all of these perceptions in that type of way. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Sorry, I know it was slightly off point there, but I was like, I forgot my guides had said this and I didn't really want to mention it.
I think especially people who are either empaths or having like who are more in tune to the energies, or the psychic tarot card readers, or just people who have very strong lunar energy, a very
Yeah.
receptive lunar energy. I think those are going to be more sensitive towards uh, like this energy. That's, again, it's a big energetical charge. Like it is. It's the whole world is.
It's epic. But then also, this is something else my guides have told me, which I also think is like really useful, and this reminds me of like self-quarantine and what obviously you can do with that time, because it's useful time, you can do stuff. Yeah, there's all this like crazy energy going off, which is incredibly intense, and obviously it's pretty negative on the external, but technically in collective consciousness, all that is as well is just a massive increase in the frequency of vibration. And the thing is, it's up to you how you decide to take that massive increase in vibration. And obviously you can use it in a way that's going to make things even more intense for you, or you can start to channel it in different areas to ultimately kind of give you jet fuel for where you want to go. And then the universe, and then, well, not the universe, but because of the situation, you then also got this potential slightly more free time in which to start curving and carving that energy in the way that you want. And then this is where I just have to say again, you just be really mindful. You don't allow too much influence from these other kind of things around you, like media, that will help you that seduces you to channel that energy in a way that's going to become more destructive for you.
Yeah, yeah.
Because there is a way of also using that energy in a very alchemic way to start to put it into other areas and things of your life, because it's powerful and it's potent. But because it's so powerful and potent, obviously you have to have real respect for the situation. Do you know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
it can obviously go either which way for you, and it really is about being focused. Is kind of how I see it.
Yeah,
Do you know
I would say definitely give purpose to this quarantine.
yeah.
Give it a purpose. Like this quarantine time, I'm going to doesn't build my business, learn how to knit, whatever. That, give it a purpose. I would say that would be like one of my biggest advice. Give it a purpose.
I
And
totally.
I actually, me and Matthew, we've been just talking about it today. I was like, you know what? Like, let's tune down the news, because so much energy goes towards the news. And I'm like, but we can actually use that energy and use it for us building something. Uh, that's like important for us, or business wise, or anything like that. There's so much stuff you have to do anyway. So I'm like, yeah, you be expect. I think especially now when it's, and I understand, like it's attractive. It's such the whole thing, the egregore of it is so charged.
It's seductive. It's
It's
100%
addictive. It's addictive because it's the in a weird way, but yeah, it is addictive. So it's like this trinket, this like golden trinket that just kind of keeps shimmering in the sunlight, and it's attractive. So you do want to go and check the news. You do want to and check how the numbers went up. It went up. I assure you it did. So you want to go and see those trinkets. So I think it is obviously also I would say a training in self-discipline, and training in I would say self-regulation. But it's important, I think, have that again. But for really to be able to resist that temptation, you have to have that core within you. You have to have that strong point, because you will say, I'm not going to look at that 100 times a day. I'm going to focus on learning how to knit. Knitting. So I would say that again, you need to have that power within your core to
yeah.
say, no, I'm not going to do it. I'm doing something else. I am the sole owner of my focus and my attention. and my time and my energy, and I decided I'm directing it to knitting.
Exactly. I am my own authority.
I am my own authority. So you have to be your own authority to really decide what you're letting in, especially 100% right now, especially
Totally.
times.
Oh my
You have to
God.
be your own authority to decide what you're letting in your world and what you're just not letting in your
Yes,
world.
exactly. Because, and like you were saying, I know you'll be the same, like obviously being psychic and also empathetic and all of that kind of stuff. Can't even say those words, but like if I even slightly, slightly let my energy slip into the collective energy, I like it. It's really intense, right? There's a lot of fear, there's a lot of anxiety, there's also a lot of sadness, you know. It's full on, it's hard. And I think obviously it's really, that's where it's better to be compassionate rather than empathetic, if you know what I mean. So
Yeah,
you're
totally.
totally aware of it, being compassionate, you know it's there, like you can you know almost send like love or energy in that kind of way, or just send that kind of holding space for like the collective in a way, without allowing yourself to actually feel exactly what the collective is feeling, because ultimately we are part of that. And obviously just have to be mindful. I know I've not explained that so well. Help. Astrid.
Like obviously, like we are all connected, and obviously like everything is connected. So our karma of an individual is connected to the karma of humanity as a whole, and because we can't exist separately from the humanity. And I think, frankly, I do believe that's one of the reasons why, for example, certain inventions, even though they weren't able to make certain inventions happen maybe a couple hundred years before the invention actually ended up happening, it was because the humanity just was not on a level to
Yeah.
proceed forward. So even there might be some individual who was able to come up with a light bulb a couple hundred years before the actual invention of light bulb. The society, evolution-wise, the stage just wasn't ready for it. But when it was ready, I believe there was at least two or three people who actually invented light bulb around the same time. So the, we are not the, we are not separate from humanity. We are evolving with it, and I
Yeah.
think certain people will be a little bit ahead of the curve. Most majority people would be somewhere in the middle, and some people will be behind the curve. It's just the regular curve, and that's how it moves forward. So I think that obviously we are connected to the whole humanity, and now there is a massive shift, and
Yeah.
some people are behind that curve, some people are in the middle. Right here right now, because it happened so quickly, I would say a lot of people are slightly behind the curve because it's just happening now and it's so fresh. But I think that especially in the upcoming few months, the people will start moving forward to really go with the whole shift that's kind of happening now. So in a way, like in a way, obviously you are sharing the karma with the humanity, you are still connected to it with its evolutionary stage, where is it right here right now. But I think you can still take charge, you can still be your own authority and just decide, okay, so I'm deciding if I'm behind the curve, in the middle of the curve, or if I decide to be ahead of the curve,
Yeah.
because that's something you can decide. I think you can
Exactly,
decide.
I totally agree. I totally agree. And I think it's just having that awareness as well. So, you know what is that other thing as well? Sometimes if you're feeling stressed at home or in the situation, I think it's really useful to just have a minute and just be like, wait a minute, am I generally feeling stressed because of the situation that's literally just occurring with me? Or am I actually feeling stressed about this collective energy that's going off? Because if you're feeling stressed about the collective energy that's going off, that is very easy actually to then just re-ground yourself, because even having that awareness, so wait a minute, this is not my stress, it's coming from the collective. Oh, okay. It's like enough to like relax and calm things down. And
Yeah,
that obviously won't always be the case, but I do think it will be a case quite a lot at the moment because of obviously the intensity of everything that's going on.
I would definitely recommend meditation practice now
Yeah.
more than ever. Like I would say, living alone, or especially if you're living with a family, some sort of like relaxation. Once the kids are asleep, that's your time, and just kind of go and meditate. Obviously, for people with kids, it's going to be usually, I guess, when the kids are asleep. Or early in the morning, but sometimes kids wake up in the morning too. So I would say, okay, after kids are sleeping, that will be your me time. That will be the time to really focus on something person wants to, or you want to build. That's when I would do the meditations. For somebody who is alone, they can do it pretty much any time. I would definitely recommend it for both, to kind of reground, to to recalibrate the whole body, to kind of ground. Also, grounding exercises are going to be great. One of my favorite grounding exercises is that just sitting on a chair, remove all the socks, all the shoes, uh, and just barefoot, really feeling the ground on the floor behind you, underneath your feet. And then I usually press on while I'm sitting, I would press on my knees. So as I'm sitting, I'm feeling the ground with my feet, and then I like press down like this on my knees, and then I'm like sending the energy through my knees all the way to my, like, through my calves, all the way to my feet, and literally like pressing the energy all the way to the ground. That for me, that's like really simple and really nice grounding exercise. Or going in the nature, if it's safe in your area, if you don't have ticks, which we do here, but then walking barefoot in the nature is also good. Obviously now it's a bit complicated. So if you have garden, if you have house with a garden, spending time with garden, meditating in garden, perfect. If you have house with garden, go meditate in garden. That's like absolutely, absolutely amazing. So I would definitely recommend relaxation exercises, grounding exercises, meditation exercises, because it's really easy now to get steered in a way, like in the different directions by the media and news, and that it's just like you can, it's hard to find your focus, or you want to focus on what you want to do, but it's equally hard to keep it that way.
Yeah, yeah.
Keep it that focus, because all of the stuff that's going on. So I think the relaxation, grounding exercises, and meditation will definitely really help to stay in the middle and build that strong core within.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I also think even if you don't have a garden, or I mean, I don't know what your situation would be and how easy it is. From when I was a chiropractor, there is just this thing that everybody knows in the thing, that your nervous system doesn't know the difference between something you're actually experiencing and something that you are visualizing. And so you really can use that to your benefit. So for example, if it's not easy for you to go out, or if there's some whatever, you're not feeling safe or whatever it might be, choose a meditation that is maybe walking you through a forest, or like a tree meditation or whatever, because honestly, if you really like sink into that and go with it, your nervous system and your brain don't know the difference between you actually doing it and you actually just visualizing it. And so it means that you can have all of the same benefits, like physically, mentally, emotionally, and energetically. And I think that's something that's really useful to be mindful or like aware of.
Yeah,
And
you
one
can.
of oh sorry.
Yeah, sorry. You can also sometimes open a window,
Yeah.
just to get some sort of like a fresh breeze. Like when I was doing my meditations, and I was exactly trying to do that. I was trying to like get myself as much like in the nature. I was trying to do that. Like how I make really visualizations, really vivid. Was I need like a one anchor idea, which is something that is actually happening in my real life, that I'm transferred in that in that visualization. So usually for me, it was the position I was in. So when I was like sitting on a chair doing the meditation in physical life, then I would imagine myself sitting on a chair in the forest. Or if I would be having open window and I would feel a breeze, then if I feel breeze in real life, I'm visualizing feeling the breeze in the forest in the visualization. Like having some sort of like an anchor, something that's happening in a physical life that I'm having physical sensation of, and I can just use it as like a stepping, like a helping step to really get in that visualization, because I have something like I can like, yeah, put, base myself off, and then go deeper in the visualization. So yeah, totally, you can definitely do it. That's a great idea. That's a
I
great
love
idea.
that. I didn't never heard of that, but that makes total sense. That's really
That's just
cool.
something I was doing when I was
No,
visualizing, because I remember we've done it once, and when I was at the pagan conference in London, and we've been doing visualization, and they told us to basically to lie down. So we lied down, and the visualization actually started. We had closed eyes. Started you actually lying down in the forest, and then you were actually supposed to stand up in the meditation. So we did stand up with eyes closed, and then you're supposed to walk around forest, and we've been actually walking
Wow.
uh, around, and then we're supposed to lie down and wake up when the thing was done. It was really nice. It was the visualization was way more vivid because there was elements from the real life we kind of took in that visualization. So I loved it. I loved it. It was something that I think everybody can do at home. Some again, just opening window and just letting some breeze in, and just that will be your forest breeze.
Yeah.
It's like
No.
in New York or just like some really polluted place. Like that's my summer breeze in a forest.
London then.
Yeah.
No, I think that's really cool. The other thing that I would do, like sort of like meditation energy wise, is I think the chakras that are most important to be working with right now, making sure they're solid, is your solar plexus, because that's very much about your own power, but then also how you might allow power to be like taken away from you. So you want a really solid like solar plexus. So I think those are good meditations to do. I also think this is what my guides are saying, scrap the root chakra. The root chakra is not going to help you as much right now as the earth star chakra. It's that chakra that you want super solid, particularly because this is affecting literally everybody globally. Like any meditations to do with the earth star chakra. So it can be like a silver star below your feet, or it can be like a torus field. You'll visualize it different ways. I would make sure that's solid. And then also, in terms of what we said about like free fall and having something to focus on, have a really start meditating on your soul star chakra, so your night chakra, like the gold star above your head, because that holds like all of your highest potential, your highest purpose, and it will help direct you. So if you've got a really strong core with your solar plexus, if you're really grounded into the earth with your earth star chakra, and then if you've got this really highlighted soul star chakra that will direct you, I just think that's going to be, that'll be really good, like almost, again, energetic hygiene for this situation. So if you found any meditations on that, then I think that would be helpful.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. That's definitely a great idea. Yeah, especially like the crown chakra and stuff like that, focusing on the top chakras to really be able to get the guidance about what exactly the transformation I'm going through, because we are all going through transformation right now. How it should be done, what exactly I need to do. Tell me what's the next steps, and that's like the guidance that's usually coming through the crown chakra, because as you said, that's where the purpose is stored. So yeah, definitely that makes so much sense. I would also say, like, again, look at your karma, look at your look
I
at
agree.
karmically what the stuff that you still need to, what is that you still need to look at. Like, again, maybe some family karma needs to be resolved,
Yeah.
maybe some work karma, maybe some relationship with work, relationship with like responsibilities, commitment, securities, insecurities. Like, what is like karmically I need to look at right now, because I think now it's better time than ever to really look at those things and resolve it. Uh, writing I'm sorry email to a family member, talk through some old pains with the family members within relationships. um, I think even if, I'm pretty sure, even if people would decide, okay, I'm not going to look at that old karma with my partner, it will come to the surface right now. It will come. It will just somehow it will end up you two sitting and just talking about this thing that you did not sort out for 4 years.
Yeah.
Uh, so I think being open towards it and just going with the flow. So okay, this is the karma I need to resolve. Okay, let's just be done with it. And I think by the end of this, loads of people went through so much transformation and removed so much blockages through the isolation and through the sheer power of having undivided attention on their karma within that isolation, that I think so many people have so much better vibration after this. They will attract so many new opportunities and
Yes.
new friends and new things in their life. I think it's going to be going to be really awesome. But obviously, you have to specifically focus not to lose your shit before that happens.
Yeah. Definitely.
Specifically, that specifically.
Yeah.
And again, and that will be the relaxation. You know, water, water.
Yeah.
The reason why water is because water takes away. So any stress, I remember I was doing like back in the day, a few years ago, I was doing a whole radio show about water magic, and I would say water takes whatever you have, water takes. So that's why when you have stress and like that
Hey.
shower and like drinking, exactly, drinking lots of water, shower, bathtub. That's why
Yeah,
lots of people when they are stressed they go to shower, they don't even know why. But
yeah,
the reason why, we all intuitively know all of that. We know intuitively water takes away bad, like anything basically. Water takes away excess. So if you're overly stressed and overly, you just shower,
yeah,
and the water takes away the excess of that energy. So if you are overthinking, if you are, especially if you are overly upset, if you are angry, if you are just stressed, if you are too worried and like, Astrid, Abby, how can I meditate? I'm just insane right now. I'm just completely losing my marbles right now. I'm supposed to even be meditating. Why is it meditating? Like, yeah, okay, hold on, you can't go, especially in spirituality, you can almost never ever go from 0 to 100 like this.
no way,
It just doesn't work that way.
no,
So usually you have to go to neutral
yeah,
state in the meantime. First go neutral, then change polarity. So how about just trying a nice shower
yeah,
or a bathtub for a
yeah,
start?
yeah,
And I think after that, that's when the meditation can come, because the shower took away the water, flew away the excess energy, and now, okay, now we are more neutral, and now from the neutral state, focus.
I quite like it. Look quite arty. It's cool. It's zooming in and out. No, that's a really cool one. I like that with the water. And also, with what you were saying with karma, one of the other things that my guide said quite a few people collectively will be working with karma wise is quite a few people have got karma to do with external authority and how they feel about it. And so, but that my guides were also saying the thing about individuals that have like quite strong karma, and you'll know because if you have a very, very charged response to external authority, and it will be playing up right now, obviously, with everything that's going off in some way. Ultimately, my guides have said that one of the useful things that's going on for you guys now, if you choose to use it and work with your karma, is whenever you have such a charge, like feeling and all the rest of it to these establishments outside of you, on a deeper level, it also means you have a charge to your own authority and your own inner establishment. If you can neutralize how you feel about that external kind of like authority, you'll be able to neutralize that charge within you. And once you've neutralized that charge within you, then you'll be able to work with your own authority even more powerfully. And it will allow you to create a lot more things in your life. And then the other one thing that they did tell me about karma in a different group, because that was more like the Capricorn energy karma, like what you were saying about being at home and stuff like that. Obviously, quite a lot of people will be working on a really deep unconscious level to do with their karma, to do with their mothers or their primary caregiver that was female, and also to do with their childhood things. But one other thing that my guys did say as well to do with this entire thing with karma was that because it's so heightened right now, and it's everybody's going through it, but on such similar themes, whether they realize it or not, so much unconscious healing is occurring for everybody to do with these themes. So even if you think, oh wow, I'm somebody that has that karma, but I don't know what to do about it, my guys did say, look, just tell them that it's already going to be naturally starting to resolve itself, just from the very fact that you're incarnated now, you're here, you're in this situation, it's starting to heal and play itself out. And I just thought, yeah, I thought that was quite interesting. And then also, the other thing that you were mentioning, and then it was something my guide had also said about the fact that for many people right now, there's this thing about suddenly starting to really see something in their life as it actually truly is. So obviously we could say this to do with potentially things that are going on externally, collectively, but also think about how this might apply to you on a very personal level.
Yeah.
Because for so many people, I'd almost say everybody, but it could be a belief system, it could be a relationship, it could be anything. Something is being shown to you right now as it truly, really is. And it's about, allowing yourself to see it
Absolutely.
that way. Because once you see it in that way, then you'll get this change in perspective. Your vibration will completely change. And the way that my guide showed me is, it's like you suddenly go from a teenager to do whatever this is into like an elder super fast, just purely by accepting something or seeing something the way it truly is, and therefore adjusting your actions and thoughts and making different decisions on things. And I think that that's something else that collectively is going off massively to do with karma. And that could be something you could be working on, being aware of while you're on this quarantine, self, whatever you want to call it, self-isolation.
Definitely focus on, look at the things around you, what shows their true colors, because now everything is really seen in the light when you can see for what it truly is. And
Yes.
I think this now is definitely time to like look for things for what they truly are and change opinions. Now it's time to there's nothing wrong with changing opinions, just now it's time to change opinions. I actually was like also thinking how you've been talking about this whole like a Capricorn and Saturn obviously energy, because in the coronavirus interview we've done the other day, we've been talking about that we feel like this is whole like a gigantic Saturn return for the whole planet. Um, One of the really occurring themes I'm seeing recently with whole this coronavirus is that people who built an empire on the rented land,
Yeah.
it's starting to their empire starting to crumble because they build it on the rented land. And
Yeah.
actually that's something I'm seeing with so many people around, because I'm doing like dozens of tarot readings or loads of tarot readings every day, so I can see like where people are at. And I'm seeing that's what's happening for so many people. Like they built something that they tried to build a house on the sand. It just and it now it's and now it was a ticking time bomb, and now it's going off, and now it's crumbling down, and they don't know what to do. And like I think this is very Saturnian lesson. And like not do not build your empire on something that you don't have a control over, and something that's not stable, that's not your own, because Saturn is about your own responsibility for your own stuff. You are the sole you are the authority, and you're solely responsible for your own stuff. That's Saturn energy. So I'm thinking that again, especially for those people, for you who are experiencing that, for those who are feeling this, that this is happening to you, like you built something that just didn't have a solid base and you invested in it. That's going to be hard because something is crumbling down that you invested a lot of time in it, that being relationship or that being um, work. So this crumbling down, but it was not built on solid ground. It was built on a rented land. It was built on sand. So I think loads of people will have resistance and they will try to keep it up, but it's not going to work. It's
Yeah.
going to crumble. And I see that the best thing how to deal with it now is to try to rebuild it, but on a solid ground, which is you independently, solely in you. How you can make it more independent, how you can have it less reliable on others, how you can have more control, more power, more authority in the situation. If you will start to direct things in that direction, then you can still save your empire. It's just not going to be built on the sand or on the rented land, but it's going to be something that you have in your own hands. So I'm
Uh-huh.
definitely seeing with many, many people that it's building empire on a rented land is backfiring horrendously and terribly for them right now. Definitely seen that with so many different people right now.
And I do think as well, another way that you would obviously, and I think that's such a great way of putting it, and it's so frigging true. It's so true. It's mental. And I do also think, like, the other thing as well that you would do if you were in that situation, you wanted to, like you know, Astrid saying, like, how to rebuild it and stuff, is you've got to be honest with yourself about what's going off before you do anything, because you do know, like you say, that it's been on rented land, or however you said it, because I love that expression, by the way. As soon as you said that, I was like, oof, I can feel it. But you've got to be honest about exactly what that is, because without, the thing about Saturn is it's all about accountability, responsibility, integrity. So you've got to apply accountability, responsibility, and integrity to this situation to then leverage it in whatever way you can, so you can build it on a place that is stable in some way. But then also, I think this is the other cool thing. So to all the businesses and things out there that are also going through stress, and you're thinking, oh my God, but I've worked so hard and stuff. Look, if you've been responsible, if you have had integrity, if you've been honest, if you have been doing everything you could, if you have been building structure by structure, if you haven't cheated the system in some way, if it is on solid ground, trust as well that you will get through this, because Saturn will be like, what's the word? It will be supportive, to you regardless of the situation, because you're all of the characters and qualities that it admires. And therefore, even though your business might look it's going through difficult things, still look at all the things like Astrid said, like online and this and that and the other, but also have faith that essentially you've done the due diligence. Because that's the thing about Saturn: if you do the due diligence, he will always be holding a space for you. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
how I see it.
No, no, it does make sense. And I think obviously for some people, they will realize that they've been trying to build something. They will again build empire on a quicksand, and sometimes they've been aware of it, but it was comfortable. They didn't want to look at it, and now they have to. But for lots of people, they've been genuinely trying to build on solid ground, and just in the situation that they did not realize or they didn't have enough information, they didn't know it's on the quicksand.
Yeah, that's true. That's so true. And
For
that
some
will happen
people,
quite a bit, I think.
for some people there was an intention. For some people it was just a coincidence. Somebody, screwed him over. Many things can happen in a situation, and I understand that in both situations it's going to be hard. In one way, you will have it in when you didn't know, then you will have a tendency to victimize yourself. When you did know, you most likely will be still victimizing yourself, and have some sort of like a potentially even more resistance towards changing. But I would say, focus on the result, focus on the future, how I can still build my empire, still working on something, but make sure the foundation I'm doing it on, it's not a quicksand. That is absolutely solid. The foundation, the bottom of the pyramid always have to come first.
Yeah.
And that's such like a simple idea. But I was flabbergasted why it's such a simple idea, but some people actually don't even think about this. They don't even realize this, that you have to first have a solid base. And I think especially now, that's when, if you have the solid base, Saturn loves people with solid bases. You understand?
Loves
Loves
them.
it. Totally loves it. That's his absolute favorite. So
Yeah,
if you
yeah,
do have a solid base and you're building on top of that base, and you've been that responsible busy bee who've done that solid base, and that Saturn loves it and actually going to help you to achieve your goals.
yeah.
Totally, I agree. Like Saturn gives and Saturn takes.
Anything it takes away now, it will double deliver later, and it will. You just have to trust that. But I also think as well, like what you said, this will also apply to relationships as well. This whole thing will also apply to relationships. Like if you built them off like the quicksand, if there is deception going off in there in some way, if there's something
Yeah,
like this, like, it's gonna come out, it's gonna be there, and actually it's always it's always intense because it is this Saturn return type energy again, but ultimately it will absolutely help you get where you want to go, but you're going to have to like go
yeah.
with some of the punches.
I think definitely you people will now start seeing that if the other person is there only for good times or if they're only here for the bad times. And obviously this is not the only situation when this happens to relationship. Obviously when things like illnesses and children have, so there's many situations like that. But for I would say now it's one of the tests when loads of people will see, okay, our relationship, does it have a solid base? Are we actually good together? Is the person really able to support me? uh,
Yeah,
is the person able to be empathic, responsible, and help me out when I need the help? Or is the person just non-committed, selfish, and just doesn't care?
yeah.
So I think now it definitely this will also come to surface in so many different
And
relationships.
I think as well, the big thing is I really feel is like it's that emotional support, because you know people can be there physically for you, there can be other things, but right now with the astrology and right with the North Node in Cancer, this is about like emotional support, and this is about emotional support for something that is ultimately emotionally fulfilling. It's those two things that are key. So you know, relationships that haven't been built on emotional support and ultimately aren't emotionally fulfilling, they're also the ones that are going to be coming under like that huge kind of stress point, because essentially that's not the way forward for relationships in terms of like the collective consciousness that will take us to a higher evolution, right? As in, if you followed astrology, that's the way it's looking.
I think loads of people will be through especially the experiences with like a people with failing relationships right now because of lack of responsibility and like again the quicksand situation. is going, for those people, is going to be especially a lot about finding their own strong point and authority within them, because the relationship that potentially was never strong, the potential relationship that was never solid, but a relationship that was always built on a quicksand, that you may ask yourself question why this person went towards that relationship in the first place. Mostly is because they've been looking for some sort of stability, or they've been looking for something outside of themselves, and that's why they grab to a person who just was not ready for it, or a person who just was not willing to be there for them, or just not the right person. But maybe normally, under under normal circumstances, that person would not reach for such a person at all. Naturally, they would just not feel compatible with those people, because they would clearly see they're on different pages. So with this person like grab on that person so much, for somebody who clearly wasn't ready, there's a good chance that it's because the person was looking for something outside of themselves, something they were supposed to be looking within themselves. And I think this is something that loads of people will be now experiencing, when that grappled relationship that was dysfunctional, was just built on a quicksand, was taken away from them. And then it's going to be super painful, but super, super, super helpful. It's going to be one of the best things ever. I promise. When you we are taking away, and it's but we have to focus on ourselves and look of all the things that the people have been looking outside of themselves. Now, not just look, but find them within themselves.
Yeah. And ultimately, that's really what this entire thing, I would say, is about. Like on the deepest spiritual level,
Totally.
like this whole thing with all the chaos, with everything that's going off outside, and all the rest of it is completely about that. And I do think that's why certain relationships and businesses will be coming to the end of their karmic cycle to do with this. And this is why, obviously, certain businesses will fail and things like this, and relationships, because essentially it will have now gone full circle with that whole thing of like needing something outside, or like that kind of thing, without having it within. And then also obviously not having that either emotional stability or that actual true physical stability, if it is like that business thing you were talking about as well. So it's all of those, basically stability is coming up huge, because that is like Cancer emotionally and Capricorn physically, and that's why everything's just like. And then obviously then we go into the whole Gemini and Sagittarius, which is the opposite of stability. It's like change, let's like dynamic, let's diversify, let's, you know.
So no, you expressed it perfectly. Like you always have like absolutely amazing ideas. So our next thing, what we're thinking we could do, is just to pull some cards, because now we kind of offered our ideas about like and guidance about how to approach this whole self-quarantine and isolation thing. So let's us pull some cards and kind of see what the cards are suggesting that we should do, and what is it like, how we should handle it.
How many are we pulling?
Usually I just do freestyle. I just pull as many as I feel. Okay.
So what is the question again? What are we going to do with what? How
to handle this self-isolation and self-quarantine and the current situation where we are at. Okay. Yeah, this I'm going to start because the cards actually does yet again, as always, confirm exactly what we've been saying the whole time. It's just bend and snap. And so the first card I pulled was, not surprisingly, Six of Swords. When we see like moving away from an unfulfilling situation, transformation, starting new chapter, leaving behind again this everything that was built on a quicksand, we are leaving behind and moving towards bigger stability. Next card was Eight of Cups. So here we are moving away mentally, because it's sword. With Eight of Cups, we are moving away emotionally too, from something that was unfulfilling. We are leaving that behind, moving towards new horizons, new perspectives, new chapters, emotionally moving things towards things that are more fulfilling and more in alignment with us. card, obviously, not surprisingly, Lovers, which is a major arcana card, suggesting we are truly connecting with our true purpose. We are connecting with something we are supposed to connect. We are connecting something that is alignment with us and leaving behind the things that just are not in alignment with us. So this is not just a time in self-isolation. Like self-isolation, that sounds so passive, but no, this is very active time. All of those
Yeah.
cards are suggesting really active transformation. So this is actually very transformative and very active time when actually loads of things are happening. Even though it seems like we are stagnating, we are self-isolating, we are stuck at home. No, loads of things are moving forward. Loads of things are happening. This is not stagnation by any stretch of imagination, and we are moving towards our true goal and something we need to truly fully connect with. And the last card I had, because I pulled four cards, was Knight of Pentacles. When I have a Knight of Pentacles, this card always, I read it as this is a marathon, not a sprint.
Totally agree.
So this card comes, it says like, save your energy, because this is not going to be done by Easter.
Yeah, no way. No way.
No, when I see Knight of Pentacles, that usually tells me this is going to take a while.
Yes, me
So
too.
this is definitely like a slow progress. This is a marathon, not a sprint. So especially with this card, that's important because it's telling me distribute your energy.
Yeah,
Take into
yeah.
account this might take a while, so distribute your energy so you're not losing your marbles right just yet. But you're distributing your energy, distributing your powers, because again, with this card, it suggests this might take a while. So make sure you are preserving some of your energy and you are, you know, here for the long run. What you have with your cards?
I got one of my favorites, femme fatale.
Uh,
So
oh, I'm
the way
here.
exactly the way that I'm totally reading this is this thing about seduction, okay, with that whole media thing. So while you're in self-isolation, just make sure that you're being mindful about what you're spending your time watching, listening to, things like that. But at the same time, the way that I'm also reading this is it's also about you being seduced by a new way, and that new way is something unique to you. So whether this is something you have wanted to do for a while that you haven't got on with and now you've got time, or if it's like it's some kind of thing which is almost a mystery to you, but it's something that you've wanted to look at or you've wanted to explore, like now is the time. I'm kind of really getting that. And then the one straight after that is, I mean, can you believe it? Meditator. Followed by this one, relaxation, which I also think looks like the meditating, the grounding, the
Yeah.
being out in nature. So obviously all of that is just super important right now. And I do think, you know, for anybody that likes to be like somebody that is almost like a life hacker and they just like to take opportunities and make them work, like honestly, now is the time for meditation. It's also like the energy that's going off with Neptune, which is linked into the virus. We know the virus is activated, so we know Neptune is activated, and Neptune is absolutely about meditation, higher consciousness, like getting new ideas. And I think we talked in our other video about how basically new ideas really will be coming in for people, and it's really important to follow them. And then do you know which one card comes after that? I like this. Friggin' love this one. Success with the Black Panther.
Hey, you know what? I pulled one and I have this. I don't know what the name of this animal is. A bis
Oh, the buffalo.
buffalo. Oh yeah. And it
The
says,
rising.
because I have this one in Czech language, so I'm going to translate it. It says, the generous universe will provide everything that's needed.
Totally. And the success card. I think this is a thing, guys. Like, no matter how it appears, no matter what is going on, I'm not saying that this was originally generated from a place that was designed for everybody to do well from it. But you know what? The toast is going to land sunny side up. It really will. But it is about, you've got to just do all of the things that we talked about. Just go with that meditation. Like, think about all of those things. And there's some real successful thing that's coming for in whatever way that might be. It's going to be cool. I freaking love this card. I really like it.
It's really, really beautiful. I love, and you know what? I love that we are like both pulling different cards from different decks, and you have a different oracle decks, but it's like exactly saying basically what we've been talking about the whole time.
Yeah.
So as always, because it's always there, just
Oh,
like
yeah.
we were like
Great.
talking about like trusting and moving away from things that are not fulfilling, and they are built on a quicksand, and like the cards are talking about exactly the same thing. It's just it's really interesting. By the way, if anybody from people who are watching, if you are making tarot cards, if you are a tarot card reader, oracle reader, card reader, let us know in the comment section below, like what cards you got, how you interpreted about the whole situation. You know, what was your psychic hints, or what kind of energies you've been sensing. Let us know in the comment section like below. We would love to hear like what you feel about the whole situation and what cards you had if you are doing tarot.
Yeah, totally. Also, wait a minute, I've made an error. I was like, shall I say it or not? This actually says mediator.
It says light and
So that basically this is more about finding the mediator. So basically, just when you're in isolation, it's making sure that you basically come to compromises with people around you and things like that. Find the middle way. It's saying find the middle way, and that was
yeah,
something that you said at the very beginning, and I think it was so important about, like, you know, that middle path, like the no charge path. It's not really from going one extreme to the other. It's about finding that route in the middle. And I do think, you know, always, every time I go for the third way, so there's like two options, and I don't know there's a third option, but then somebody will say to me, I think there's another way, just wait, it will come, wait, it will come. It always comes, and it's always that new way, that third way, which comes with the aha moment, the eureka moment, and that's how to move forward. So I'm guessing for some of you as well, within this self-quarantine, there's something that you don't know about yet, that you've got no idea about yet, that is going to come through to you, and it's got something super useful and super powerful. But so be open to something, be open to a third way, with whether it's your business, the relationship, whatever it might be. But also meditate anyway, even though I thought it said that.
100%. And I would say also, don't be afraid now to reach out to other people, to reach out for help, to reach out to community. I think definitely now is the time to do that. Lots of people are in a position where they just will be unable to like handle situation without an outside help. I know from the tarot reading cards I'm doing that lots of people are in that position, either that will be financially, work-wise, or even just emotionally with the situations they're at. So I would say, you know, now it's a lot about Aquarius, is about connecting. So don't be afraid to reach out to people for help. Don't be afraid to ask your family, your friends, your members, people who you can, you know, you can trust. That, you know, it's not bad thing, and in a way, it's going to not just obviously provide you with the help that you potentially need, but also it is going to strengthen the relationship with other people. It will strengthen the
Yeah.
astral bonds between people.
Yeah, and then that's that emotional support thing and the emotional fulfilling thing, which is ultimately that North Node in Cancer, which is where we're all being pulled to go. So yeah, totally agree. Totally agree. As always,
As
always
always,
I always agree with you.
I always agree with you. Anyway, if you, the dear listeners, if you agree with us or disagree with us, please let us know in the comment section below. We're really hoping that you find this interview that we've done today with you useful, or if you have anything else you want to say, Abby, let me know if there's anything else you want to add.
It's just going to be better than what we think in terms of self-isolation.
Yeah.
And it's actually very useful because it's going to prepare us from other stuff that then is on its way and things. So like making this now is like key.
I couldn't agree more. and and again, if you agree with us, guys, let us know in the comment section below how you're doing with isolation. If you are alone, would you think it would be better with a family? If you are with a family, would you think it would be better to be alone? Again, let us know. Please like, subscribe, and I'm sure we will be back at some point soon about some more relevant topic and some spiritual ideas and guidance. Thank you so much, everybody, and we'll be looking forward to hear from you soon.